What's up, guys? Tyler back on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel, and I'm back with some Week 4 predictions. Now, if you've been following me here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel, my straight pick'ems, I'm 23-7, went perfect last week at 10-0. Now, not saying that's very impressive because some of the matchups are kind of, gimmies, Oregon State. But I finally did hit the upset pick with Memphis over Florida State. Finally, I'm 1-2 in the upset picks. A lot of people are probably going to be upset with me for my upset pick for today, but a lot of really intriguing matchups. You got Texas Tech playing Arizona State. That's going to be a high-scoring game. I kind of like Texas Tech there. Cal and Florida State. Can Florida State get their first win? How about Colorado? They take on Baylor. I believe that's a home game after 2 straight road games for Colorado. Can they start to make themselves well-known into the Big 12? I kind of like the Buffaloes there. More of a defensive team, believe it or not, than offense. It's kind of surprising there as their offense has been struggling these past few weeks. But let's get into my upset pick. And we're going to start with Georgia Tech over Louisville. Louisville comes in as a 10.5 to 11.5 point home favorite. Just had a bye week. They've done what they've needed to do against Jacksonville State and Austin Peay, but that's pretty much it. We haven't seen them play a Power 4 opponent. And Georgia Tech, they're a big underdog here. I just don't necessarily understand it. Now, Georgia Tech, this is going to be their 5th game of this season, which means they have 3 bye weeks in the remainder of the year, which is huge for them because of their schedule. It's just ridiculous. I actually like Georgia Tech here on the road with Brent Keys and this offense. I have yet to see Louisville play a team with a similar type of offense. Obviously, they just had a bye week. I think Louisville is honestly overrated offensively. Let's see. They have a pretty decent run game. And then Tyler Shuck, he's a interesting QB. He's had so many injuries, so hopefully he doesn't have to deal with any of that. But I just something about this Georgia Tech team that I'm starting to like, and they don't really have a great chance, but there is a chance that they can make it to the ACC title. They could double their odds with a win on the road. Give me Haynes King and Georgia Tech to pull the upset on the road to number 19 Louisville. Florida goes to Starkville to take on Mississippi State. Mississippi State just got embarrassed at home to Toledo. Florida is I think a 5.5 point road favorite. I'm riding Billy Napier here. I don't think he's going to get fired until after the bye week. Florida fans are, speculation is, well, regardless of the score in this game, he's going to get fired for the bye week. I don't think that's going to happen because I do think Florida's going to win this game. Mississippi State is by far the worst team in the SEC and one of the worst Power 4 teams. Just last week was just absolutely terrible. Got just destroyed on the line of scrimmage. Gave up so many yards rushing to Arizona State. Gave up so many yards to Toledo. I think Florida comes on the road and just beats them. I think this could get very ugly quick, but I'm going to stay conservative here. I am going to take Florida in the 5.5. They're going to go on the road and beat Mississippi State, I think, handedly. Next here, this game's at 3:30 on ABC. LSU taking on UCLA. I thought this game could have been a lot closer. But no, man, UCLA just had a bye week, and after really getting destroyed at the line of scrimmage by Hawaii, they got so lucky to win that game, escaped out of Honolulu with a win, had a bye week, and I'm like, okay, well, Deshaun Foster's going to figure it out and beat Indiana and got just destroyed everywhere. Garbers is their leading rusher. He's had a terrible start to the season. And I think this is where LSU finds themselves. They find their identity offensively and defensively. They play a really complete game. I'm taking the Tigers and the 22.5. I like LSU big, especially at home. Nussmeier has his best game. How about Durham, true freshman, back? This is just a mismatch, in my opinion. UCLA, them and Mississippi State could be the 2 worst teams in the Power 4. Give me the Tigers big. Up next is kind of a give me as well. I like Clemson way more than NC State. Now, I'm obviously a Georgia fan. Georgia beat Clemson pretty badly. And then North Carolina State did lose to Tennessee. They have yet to look good this year. Is this the time and the place where they could succeed? Yes. but I don't see it happening. Dave Doran, I don't know what happened to this team in the offseason. I thought they made some really key moves there, especially with Grayson McCall and some keys at wide receiver and running back. I thought this offense was going to be very, very good. I think Grayson McCall goes down. They bring in a backup. This is just a terrible situation for NC State. Boy, and Clemson just had a bye week. If I was an NC State fan, I wish this week I'd have a bye week, then play Clemson. But I think Clemson's just going to blow out NC State. This is a mismatch. Line of scrimmage for NC State is terrible. Yeah, give me the Tigers big, 38-14, something like that. Up next here, I had to put this game on here because I think it is actually going to be a relatively solid game. But Vanderbilt travels to Columbia, Missouri to take on number 7 Missouri. And where is that Missouri fan that was calling for my head? Because I said take Boston College in the points. Boston College was a 14-point road underdog. They actually opened up being 16.5 to 17. If you got, well, 17 was free, by the way, but 14 was still a good spread. Man, that guy is still commenting, telling me how wrong I was. Well, I was right. I had Boston College covering the 14.5 points. I think I said 15.5 because that's when I recorded it. It was something like that. It was just too high. Missouri's just not that good of a team to be blowing out a team like Boston College, who's probably going to go 7-5 out of the ACC, and they have a really solid head coach in Bill O'Brien. Vanderbilt just came off of a devastating loss. It's the week 3 curse with Vandy. I've been saying this in the live streams. I said take Georgia State in the 10.5, and boom, they go and end up losing outright. But I think Vanderbilt's going to make this a closer game. Diego Pieva has been rather good this year. He had a solid season last year at New Mexico State. He's having a very solid season this year. And Missouri is just not a top 10 team. I hate to be like this, but, I mean, just watch them play. They have I will give Missouri credit, though. They have a really solid front seven, and their defense is pretty good this year. So that could be a saving grace. I don't think I don't think Missouri is going to lose this game. I do think Vandy will cover that 24.5. I think now it's down to 20.5. That's just a terrible line for Missouri. In fact, I don't think there are many teams in the SEC that Missouri would beat by 24.5 or more. I'm sorry. I hate to be hating on Missouri, but my goodness, them being in the top 10 just makes no sense to me. Missouri is going to have their loss coming up here soon when they play Texas A&M, but not against Vanderbilt. Give me Missouri 30-20, something around that. Kind of similar to last week's game, except I'm hoping Missouri shows out a little bit more. But yeah, I like Vandy in that 20. I said 24.5 because that's what it opened up at. Now it's down to 21.5. So I take Vandy in the points on the road. Up next here, we do have Nebraska and Illinois, which is a primetime game for a Friday night matchup. Both these teams ranked in the top 25. Who would have actually thought that Illinois would be ranked in the top 25 already? Man, Illinois is always they always do better than the expectation when the expectations are low, and they always do pretty bad when the expectations are higher, like they were last year. I think they were at like 6.5 wins. They didn't even make close to that, but they're already much better than what people thought. They're a strong physical team. I love that DB Matthew Bailey. Pretty solid there. The two linebackers, Miles Scott, and then the other Scott. They have Brick. I mean, this is a very strong Illinois defensive front. They're not a great offensive team. Luke Altmaier I believe this is his 4th season, 2nd year at Illinois. He's done enough. He's a game manager. But the story here is going to be Raiola. Clearly a game-changing player. One of the best freshmen in college football as of right now. I love Nebraska here, but I like Illinois in the points. For some reason, Illinois is a 9 or 10 point road underdog. Are we for real here? Over-under is set at 42.5, and look at me going with Nebraska here, 23-20. I actually think it's going to be a little bit less scoring, but we'll go with it now. I think it's actually going to be a 17-13 type game. This is going to be a slugfest there. Give me Nebraska, though, at home to ride Raiola and Matt Rule. Next, a very underrated matchup. Arkansas travels to Auburn. Auburn is the favorite here, 2.5 points. Hank Brown's going to get his second career start. Played one of the worst defensive team. In fact, New Mexico is probably the worst defensive team I may have ever seen. They are terrible up front. They're not good on any position. They gave up 400 yards rushing to an FCS team. They've given up, I think, over 1,600 yards in 3 games. I wish I was making that up. They're just a terrible defensive team. So Auburn, they scored 45. In fact, no? Okay, that's a little bit more than what Montana State had. But so what? New Mexico's terrible offensively or defensively. They have a solid offense, actually. But New Mexico's a terrible defensive team. I'm not going to jump on the Hank Brown bus yet. And I do like Taylon Green. Arkansas should be 3-0, top 20, heading into this game for a potential trap game. But no, of course, Sam Pittman found a way to lose, but I'm going to ride Sam Pittman here. I think the Razorbacks go on the road and kind of upset Auburn. Technically, it is an upset because they are a 3-point, I believe, underdog there. I like Arkansas. I think this is a much better team than what people thought they'd be. I told you that I had this team going 7-5. And I'm going to ride Taylon Green and Jaquinnon Jackson here to go on the road and upset Auburn and Jordan-Hare. That would be Auburn's second loss already at Jordan-Hare, which is kind of crazy to believe. But, yeah, give me the Razorbacks pulling the upset at Auburn. And I'm going to kind of keep this one short and sweet. Michigan is just not a top 25 team. USC is a borderline top 10 team. They figured something out on that defensive front. They just had a bye week, and on the alternative, Michigan, on the other hand, struggled dearly against Arkansas State. It was just a weird game. Now, they were up 28-3, so let's give them some credit there. But they're benching Warren. Orji is going to get the start. I think USC is going to blow Michigan out of the water. I'm being a little bit conservative with this score, but I'm still taking USC in 6.5 points. I'm not really worried too much about this game. I'm feeling pretty strong with USC here. I'm going to ride Miller Moss. And oh, by the way, I like what Lincoln Riley did over the offseason, getting a really good defensive coordinator. So I'm giving him credit there too. But they just had a bye week, and Michigan really kind of needed a bye week after Texas. So give me USC here. They're going to go on the road and beat Michigan in Ann Arbor. The biggest matchup, I think, of the weekend, probably the best matchup, Oklahoma State plays Utah at home. This is one of the 2 most veteran teams in college football going head-to-head here. Utah is probably one of the best coached teams in college football, as they probably don't have, based upon talent, they don't have a top 20 roster, but this is a borderline top 10 team. In fact, this is a top 10 team, in my opinion. Cam Rising will be back. They struggled a little bit against Utah State, but pushed through all the adversity, even having a road game, which is just weird. I just don't necessarily understand that. And that's kind of a weird theme in college football this year. You're seeing a lot of these Power 4 schools going on the road. You see that like once every 3 or 4 seasons. But anyways, Oklahoma State just coming off of a very solid defensive performance at Tulsa. Yeah, both these teams played on the road against group of 5 teams. Not very good group of 5 teams, though. But still, my goodness, I was going back and forth on this game, but I'm going to go with Utah. I think they're more physical, and that's and honestly, Oklahoma State should be 2-1 here. They should have lost to Arkansas. Arkansas found every way possible to lose that game, and they pushed around Oklahoma State on both sides. Ollie Gordon's averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Are we serious? Yeah, I am serious. He has 60 attempts and only 3.5 yards per carry. Just very bad. I don't really know what else there is to say there. Played pretty bad against Arkansas. He's very frustrated. I like Micah Bernard actually a little bit more than Ollie Gordon, simply because I like this Utah's front against Oklahoma State's front 7. I think they'll kind of push them around similarly to what Arkansas did, and give me Utah to win on the road in a close one, 34-27. But probably the biggest matchup for the Big 12 this year And boy, oh boy, did Big Noon just fumble the bag there. Now, I understand them not doing it for a new game, but why not have your primetime announcers announce this game instead of Marshall at Ohio State? Fox is a joke. College game day heading to Norman, Oklahoma. I'm going to kind of keep this one short and sweet. Tennessee's just the better team here. Now, both these defenses statistically are top 25, or Oklahoma, I believe, is maybe 26, but come on. Both these defenses are really, really good. Kind of a surpriser for Tennessee more, but I knew that their front seven, especially with Pierce, was going to be ridiculous. Watch him have a really nice game. The difference to me is not just quarterback, but just Tennessee's line of scrimmage has been absolutely outstanding thus far. Now, again, you played a pretty bad Kent State team and onside kicking it against Kent State. What are you doing there? That just doesn't make any sense. I don't want to hear anything about, well, it wasn't a coaching decision. No, just stop. You're up 30-0. Have some shame. But even against NC State, who you guys made look like an FCS team, Tennessee has just been bullying teams, and I think they're going to bully Oklahoma. I do think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I don't really trust either of these quarterbacks as much as some of these other people saying this is going to be a shootout. Have you not? If you're telling me this is going to be a shootout, you haven't watched either team. You're just going to tell me both defenses haven't played any good offenses, and, well, Tulane's a pretty solid offensive team, and I think NC State's offense will get better throughout the year, but my goodness, that's just not the philosophy of both these teams. They're not going to wow you, at least Oklahoma. I'm kind of saying this for Oklahoma. They do got the benefit of the doubt. Welcome to the SEC, Oklahoma. You get to lose to Tennessee here at home, 27-10. I think I would actually ride the under here. I think, what's it at, 55, 52 and a half? That's a little bit too much for my opinion. I don't think, and Tennessee has yet to give up an offensive touchdown, by the way. One came on a pick six, and that's not really on Nico. He kind of got blown up there. But give me Tennessee. I think and it's only a 7-point road favorite. I think that's a little bit too, that's just not enough. I would take Tennessee, but let me know what you guys think, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Big week of college football. Every week's a big week of college football. And make sure to like and subscribe. You're listening to Tyler here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.